Hey guys, so welcome back to Indirect Knowledge. I'm Chandra, and tonight I've got a special tarot card reading, and this one is from Michelle. And this one actually is a tarot card reading that was kind of influenced based on a previous reading that we did for her. And just want to do kind of a follow-up to that other reading. And basically, we just want to kind of look at new connection versus an old connection. The old connection was someone that Michelle thought was her twin flame, but unfortunately this person ended up getting married to someone else. Now she's battling this kind of conflict with herself, with this new person, and just wants to kind of know more about that. It's hard to move on when you're still, picking up the pieces from the previous relationship that we had, and making comparisons with people from the past is something that often people do. I found. Doesn't mean it's a good practice or a bad practice necessarily. It just means that it's something that people tend to do. And so let's look at this situation and see what we can kind of distill from it. In the past, we have this, we have the Nightmare card. It's a Nine of Swords. This is like it's not real reality. It's just kind of what we think about the worst case scenario. That's a nightmare, right? It's when the worst case could come about, or the thought of the worst case happening, and it's frightening. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. And that was in the past. And so, when you're in love with someone and that person, deviates and goes off and marries someone else, the pain that's associated with that is just immense and unbelievable. It's one more, it's one more, it's one more side effect of materialism. And by materialism, I don't mean the attachment to a thing per se, although that's exactly what it is. I don't want you really thinking of it in terms of that. Materialism is kind of like there's two paths, right? We have, on one side, we have spiritual progress and advancement and letting go of things that really no longer work for us, which usually means letting go of these old ideas, materialistic ideas that we had about what life should look like. It could be that we think that life should be about, the superficial American dream, where you get a good education, you get a good job, you get a good partner, you get married, you have a certain number of children, you progress, you put the children in college, you start planning for retirement, you retire early, you live however you want, you live where you want, you're able to do things that you want to do until, and then you're able to leave a legacy and pass that on to future generations. Well, if we look at the way that, collectively people tend to think, it's really in alignment with this kind of a value system, and it's across the board. It's not just the great American dream. It could be the great Indian dream, the great Chinese dream, and so on and so forth. People just have sort of these ideas of what they want for their life and what that's to look like. And a lot of it is influenced just by, the way we were raised, our culture, our traditions, things of the past. And so we have these ideas. And on the other hand, on the other side of things, we have sort of these outliers, and one outlier might be like the spiritual realm where we just feel as though, there's more to life than just this plan, this idea that somehow people have gotten it in their minds that this is what life is all about. And this spiritual dimension, it could be something more like, having a regulated lifestyle, realizing that we really need a lot less than we think we need, and realizing that happiness is not predicated based on what you own or who's in your life or where you live or any of these kind of variables. But as many people would argue, it's easier said than done. Well, the same applies to kind of like, material. When we're consumed with materialism or, material desires, or this, we're so focused in this direction, or, we want this kind of thing so much that, it's very painful, and we keep getting this reoccurring pain happening over and over in our life. We can't really do much about it unless we're willing to just kind of forgo it in lieu of more of a spiritual life and that type of thing, but it's a process getting to that point, and it may take, in a single lifetime, someone may never get there. So it really just depends on, what our thinking is and how that shifts throughout our life and so on. So like, it's really painful. Like, we get caught up in something. We think that this is our soulmate. This is the person we're supposed to be with. And then that person inevitably goes and gets with someone else. And it's like a part of us is lost. I mean, lost for words, just, drained. I mean, just mentally drained, not able to continue on. And it can be, it can cause a great depression, a great sadness, a great loss. I mean, it's like a death in a sense. And picking up the pieces and moving forward is like such a challenge, because part of us is stuck in the past and wounded by that and just not really wanting to move forward. And then there's the other part of us that feels like, well, I have to move forward if I'm ever going to quit feeling this way, this pain, this hurt. And so, we make the decision to move forward, partly. So that's kind of the situation here with this Nightmare card. The next card in the reading is this is a Six of Cups. Okay, it's a nice card. I mean, this is a friendly card. This is a cup of nostalgia. It's about thinking about the past. And that's really where you're at right now, Michelle, is thinking about this other relationship. And, there's a sort of nostalgia that goes along with that. This relationship represented more innocent times. It was what you wanted your life to look like. And then that was, of course, destroyed. And now you find yourself trying to pick up the pieces, but yet part of you, a large part of you, is kind of still stuck back here, in this other situation from the past. In the future, moving forward, about 4 months out or so, we have this Emperor card here. And the Emperor is really about the foundation of laws, rules, order, doing certain things to get certain results, kind of mastering our own thoughts, mastering our own mind, getting control over things. And that's a really good headspace to be in once you get to this, where the Emperor is here. The Emperor can command whatever the Emperor wants and get it. So this is it's almost like a cup of manifestation in a sense, a card of manifestation. It's like where you're in an empowered place mentally and even resource-wise to start creating, new things for yourself that really do kind of reshape your thinking and put you in a much better headspace and a much better place altogether. And that's about 4 months out. So we looked at this nostalgia card here. Well, there's a certain energy that goes along with this to kind of give us more insight into this card as far as reflecting on the past. And this is the energy card that goes along with this. This is kind of out in the cold. This is, you're out in the dark. It's not a really vibrant card, not a very happy card per se. But it is a good reminder that even though we may find ourselves in this kind of thinking or this type of situation, or reflecting on the past in that, this is a reminder, this is almost like a message for you, Michelle, that you got to this place. You got to where the past relationship was by doing certain things. It wasn't just happenstance or randomness that got you here. It was the way that you carried yourself. It was the way that you communicated. It was the way that you affected changes in others. It was your psychology. It was your whole mindset, everything. And that got you to a really good and happy place, right? Place that you're right now thinking about, and really mourning for in a lot of ways. But this is a card that reminds us that, even though right now things may be bleak and, we're having to pick up the pieces and try to move forward, and it's painful and just really, really difficult situation to find yourself in right now. The reminder here is, there's the message for you is that there's something that got you here. And that's what this card is asking you to figure out. What was it that got you what you wanted in the first place with the other relationship? Where did you not necessarily go wrong, but what things came into play as a result of this that took this out of your life? And what were some of the reasons why? Those reasons, obviously, are things that you might want to address a little bit mentally when you have a little time to think about them. But more importantly than even that is just understanding that, how did you communicate? How did you convey yourself? How did you portray yourself? All these kind of things. What was it that attracted this person that you thought was your soulmate, your twin flame? What was it that attracted this person? If you can figure that out, which you've already been there, so it shouldn't be too difficult to figure out. If you can figure that out, you can recreate that for yourself. You can remanifest that in your life. It would just be like, for example, if you started a business and 3 years down the line, your business fails, right? The economy shrinks. You can't stay in business, and then you go out of business, and now you find yourself, without a business, and you're having to go out and find a job or try to do something to take care of yourself. If this card came up in your reading, it would be a reminder to say, hey, how did you become successful in business in the first place? What steps did you take? Retrace your steps and just, redo it again. I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult because you were able to do it the first time. You know how to do it. You know what's involved in the process. Just go and do it again. That's what this is asking you to do, but not in regards to a business. It's actually in regards to your relationships. So that's a good message. That's a good thing to keep in mind. Now, what is it that you're really hoping for, desiring out of this? What's really your attitude about all of this with the situations that are taking place now? Okay, great card. This is a 2. 2 is about relationships. And of course, cups are also about relationships. So this is like a double whammy here. You see 2 people of equal status sharing, their life together. You see, like, a lot of people don't really ever pay too much attention to this, but we see kind of like the lion with the wings and the snakes and everything, like you might see like in a medical thing. But if you turn this sideways, you can see like the infinity taking place within this. It's like almost like a trifold infinity. But there's infinity times 2 on this. So it's almost like infinite, Look at that. I don't know if I don't really have the best camera here. But if you turn this on the side, you see one infinity right here. And you see another one right here. So it's like double infinities. Okay. Infinities, when they come up, it's usually about like a soulmate situation. And not only is, I think this is sort of telling here in a way, because in the previous situation, you found what you thought was your soulmate. The other person maybe didn't feel exactly the same way. So maybe that person, in a sense, was sort of like that to you, but it wasn't reciprocated. But now we've got a double infinity. So it's like a double soulmate situation. This would be a situation where like one person really feels very strongly that you are their soulmate, and you feel very strongly that they are also your soulmate. So it's like a kind of an equalness. You see a lot of balance going on in this. You see a wing on this side, a wing on this side, eye on this side, eye on this side. This whole snake. Then we have the infinities. We have the 2 individuals, 2 cups, same gestures, same kind of stance, same posture. It's a very balanced card. 2 is about balance also. 2 is about relationship, but this is a very equal footing. And it's very, it's very something to consider here. This is kind of what you're looking for. This is sort of what you're wanting, reciprocation in the same light. So I'll put this over here for now. Okay, so we've gone through really the first 2/3 of this reading, and now what we're left with is really the outcome. So now we've got a lot of upfront information. We've explored things from the past, looked at things kind of in the present moment. We looked at things moving forward, about 4 months out or so. Let's find out really what the outcome is. The outcome comes down to a decision. Check it out. This is the Lovers. Lovers are obviously about relationships. This is like a kind of a portrayal of maybe like an Adam and Eve type situation. And you see the angel, heaven opened up, mountains in the backdrop. Could be the Garden of Eden type of situation. But here's the thing with this. With this card coming up, it's really, we talk about lovers, soulmates, twin flames, all these kind of things, as far as connection goes. But when this card comes up, it's usually about a decision that we have to make. Do we decide to, go all in and say, okay, I'm taking this relationship and I'm going to partner with this person, and I'm going to walk side by side with this person and share my life experiences with this person? Or maybe it's more for me to go it alone, by myself, keep going down the path by myself. Maybe it's not time for me to partner up with someone. This is a question that you have to kind of explore and kind of figure out for yourself, especially with this new relationship. I know it's hard to put the past behind you, and so if you're still mourning for that, this may be off timing as far as a relationship that you have in front of you now. If you're feeling a connection with this person and all, it might be worth pursuing. If you're not feeling a true connection, maybe it's time to just sort of disconnect from it for now and to keep going it alone. But this is basically, when we see the Lovers, it's like the potentiality is always there, right? This is also telling me that, regardless of what decision you make, love is coming back into your life, and your real soulmate is just coming right around the corner. If it's not this person that you're with. It's interesting the way the universe sometimes throws us kind of a loop, the person that we think we should be with is maybe not the person that's best suited for us. And maybe someone that we would never imagine in a million years as our soulmate or the person that we should be with could be completely exactly what the universe has in store for us, or what Providence has ordained, if you will. So it's definitely some food for thought with this. So keep this card in mind. Now let's look at where the answer is to getting this soulmate situation coming into play. It's this is a card to keep in mind right here. This is the key that unlocks the door for the soulmates, in your situation anyway. And this is the Queen of Pentacles. Queens are all about influence. They help us to, they help us to really get the things in life we want. Sometimes we do it indirectly. Sometimes we have to be more influencing more in a direct way. Whatever we have to say, whatever we have to do. But normally when this card comes up, the Queen, she's really, really good at influence. She knows how to get what she wants from the king. She knows how to help the king in the best way possible to, be able to run the kingdom. Oftentimes the Queen herself runs the kingdom and is the figurehead. And this is the Queen of Pentacles. Pentacles is about groundedness. It's about, ironically enough, it's about the material world. It's about things. It's about materialism, creating things in our life, creating human experiences in our life, these type of things. It's less about the divine, and it's more about the, moving through life kind of, like I said before earlier on, along the material path, trying to create the perfect experiences for ourselves, something that we can gravitate, hold on to. The only downside to materialism is its impermanence. I mean, nothing lasts forever. It really doesn't. I mean, as we see, like with the twin flame situation that was there before, or that we thought was the twin flame, it just didn't last. If you think about it, though, guys, nothing lasts. I mean, like some things have a shorter existence than other things. And I say existence because it doesn't mean that it has to necessarily be alive. I mean, it could be anything. I'm just a poor monk, and my technology, I was just talking about my webcam a minute ago being pretty much subpar, but I have like as a monk, I mean, I have a cell phone. It's but look at it. I mean, I've got Scotch tape on it. If you look at the this was just a donated cell phone that someone was kind enough to donate, but and it works. I mean, it does work. There's even a little camera on it for taking pictures or recording video if I need to. And you can see like it's got like someone has shattered the glass and then put some tape on it. So but it's it works. So I mean, it still works. So I keep using it. It's what I got, So I mean, what else can I do? Unless someone else donates a cell phone to me or something like that, or helps me out with it, then I'm just. And if something should happen to this and it goes out of existence, then I'll just be without a cell phone. I mean, that's kind of monk life for you. Hashtag monk life. Okay, you guys don't care about all that, but anyway, the it's like anything though. Like I was just using that cell phone as sort of an example that something we have one day is something that we don't have tomorrow. It's kind of like that, and it can be really devastating and really sad, especially the things that we're most attracted to and the things that we are most attached to. And oftentimes those are relationships, relationships with individuals. That's why, and I've attended a lot of funerals. That's why, like when a loved one passes away, it is just soul crushing, worst pain in the world, because we so much love that person. We're so attached to that person. That person has been in our life, our existence for such a long period of our own existence, that we have such a connection with that person. And when that person is no longer alive, that we can, pick up a broken cell phone and call. Well, it's very hard to handle. It's emotionally when you are materially attached, like when you're in that that way of being, that when that's your focus. So, and there's a lot of philosophy, like spiritual philosophy and things around these types of notions of materialism and so on and so forth. But by and large, on a day-to-day level, which is where most of us exist or most of us live on, we're less thinking consciously about, maybe spiritual pursuits or, philosophy or, what the truth is, those kind of things, higher philosophical concepts, more spiritual, religious concepts, those kind of things. On a day-to-day level, it's more about the mundane. It's more about the, sharing our life experience with others. It's more about the happy moments and, the quiet still of the day that we share with someone else. Maybe we have lunch with a coworker, or, we share a meaningful conversation with someone, where we simply, smile at a child or wave at someone or, show some compassion somewhere. So all of these kind of things are more, they ground us, in this material universe. Even though the material universe is maybe not the end all or the thing maybe we should be focused on, sometimes we need a distraction, right? And so materialism in that regard can be useful if we think about, spiritual concepts, God, what our true purpose for being here is. If we were to think about that all the time, as nice as that sounds, I'm not so sure that, especially given the world that we live in, where new things are constantly coming up. There's new technologies. I mean, goodness, when I was a child, there was no such thing as a cell phone. And even if I had a broken cell phone back then, something like this that had internet on it, which I don't even know if it existed. I don't even recall it existing when I was a child. It didn't exist that I know of. It wasn't in my purview anyway. I would have just been totally blown away. It would have just been like, instantly I would have been drawn to it, right? It would have really had an impact or an effect on me. But every time we turn around, a year goes by and some new technology comes out, something else is, being offered or presented. So, it can be exciting in the sense that it's distracting. So sometimes life can be painful, just the life experience, just getting older, having to face reality. It can be a very depressing, thing to have to contend with. So our spiritual beliefs and things in the backdrop sometimes can be very useful and helpful to us. But on the day-to-day, that distraction from the reality of what's really going on in this material universe can be very, can help put blinders on us so that we don't have to necessarily confront reality. And, depending on your viewpoint and what your beliefs are, some people feel that it's better to live in a world that is full of distractions and just get through it. It's kind of this get through it kind of mentality versus confront it and see the beauty in the spiritual and letting go of things and realizing that, everything is temporal. Even our bodies are temporal. One day this won't exist. So if we know that, we can focus kind of in this other direction if we choose to. I'm a monk, of course. I'm just talking about things from a monk's perspective. If you ask someone else, they'll give you a different perspective, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong outside of your beliefs. Fair enough. That's just kind of the way it is. So, little food for thought, But if we want to consume the distraction, which many, if not most of us do, it's just like if you watch a television show, a program on television, maybe a movie or something like that. It's very distracting. It distracts you from your everyday reality. And sometimes we need even that. So even though we might use our temporal everyday life, like no day is exactly the same, right? We might use, like say, for example, like we look at this situation here with Michelle. We look at there was someone she cared deeply for. Consider this person maybe like a twin flame or soulmate, and really kind of was harboring that thought and everything. Things were going really well. And then this person goes and marries someone else. Bam, devastation. And I'm just saying this kind of objectively. And it's very painful. So even though everyday life can be a distraction away from like spiritual things, maybe the deeper thing that is maybe more reality than, say, the everyday reality that we choose to buy into or believe in. Even so, there's even less reality that we can even detach from in order to protect us even from this kind of a situation, this kind of a loss. So let me just use myself as an example here. We'll get Michelle we'll get her off the hook for just a minute. Let's just say, for example, okay, let's look at it in terms of 3. The first section is I'm a monk, obviously, and we do a lot of service-oriented work. Our basic mission is to spread love for God, and I'm trying to do this as objectively as I can. There's a lot of love that goes into the service, so it's hard for me not to kind of self-express that and put that bias on it. If you want to really truly learn about love and really loving people, hit me up. I can help you with that. But I don't want to deviate from the point I'm trying to make here. I think it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about. If you look at, okay, so spiritual things every day, I get up really early. We have spiritual disciplines that we do. We have sort of a regulated life. Pretty much my day is pretty much planned for me. Do cooking, service work, volunteer work, you name it, all kinds of different things. We have more spiritual disciplines that we do in the evening. We have certain vows that we've taken. We have certain restrictions that we adhere to. So, it's a very regulated lifestyle. Let's just put it like that. Okay. Not for everyone. And it's very much focused on the spiritual. Now, even so, monk and all, someone donated a cell phone, right? So this helps out a lot with staying in touch with people. Sometimes people need to stay connected to that. This, it was very kind of this person to donate this. It was a phone that they weren't using anymore. They had upgraded their phone or something along those lines, but they'd given me this phone. So this phone was a nice distraction for me sometimes, when it comes to talking with people one-on-one, helping people, whether it's giving a tarot reading over the phone or on the internet, when I'm away or something, or, whatever the case happens to be. Or, it could be, someone falls into a depression and they want to connect with me, and, a cell phone helps. It's a way of communicating. But, if we look at things in terms of like, material, this is a material thing. This won't last forever, right? I just trust God. God, I feel like God has put this in my life so that I can do more service. But let's just say, for example, though, that, I'm doing my work nicely, helping and serving someone that needs help. And, maybe someone needs to make a phone call. So I have the phone. I can let them make a phone call or something, someone that doesn't even have a phone. So it's a way for me to share that love with them. That blessing that someone blessed me with now is blessing this person. But now my focus is not maybe so much on like spiritual things as much as it is maybe just, the cell phone. I have to manage this. It's part of my responsibility. I may be doing it under a certain pretext or context in terms of like why I have it, what I use it for, that kind of thing, which may vary from what a lot of people might use a cell phone for. But by and large, it's that. But let's just say, for example, I'm sitting at a bus stop, trying to catch a bus. I'm on a service call. I've been called to do some service, and now I'm waiting for the bus and that. So I have the cell phone, right? And they have Wi-Fi at the nearby grocery store by the bus stop where I can catch the bus. So maybe I'm on this phone and I get on YouTube and I'm messing around. I watch some videos and that. So those videos are now a distraction a little bit deeper, So whatever's going on in my mind, I'm thinking about the service work I'm to do. I was earlier doing some kind of like a sadhana or some kind of a spiritual discipline. Now I'm doing some service work, and maybe I've got some domestic responsibilities, things I have to do as far as cleanup. So I got a lot on my mind, less about God, more about just maintaining and doing things in a nice way. So now my focus has shifted to that, sort of the material thing, cell phone, managing things, that kind of thing. But now I become so like ingratiated in this here material universe that now my focus is not on God. It's more on, what I'm doing. So it's more on the material. It's in the material realm at this point. And now maybe, like I get some bad news or something happens and I'm sitting at the bus stop and I got just so much on my mind. Maybe it was someone that was abused, they've been re-abused or something like that. And I get this bad news and it's just really, it's affecting me emotionally. And so maybe sitting at that bus stop, I get on the phone and maybe I see a video. It's like a funny clip or, something that's completely takes my mind off of the whole entire situation and the bad news and everything that I've just been given. And now it's just kind of like, it's sort of like therapy in a way. It's sort of a nice distraction is a nice way of putting it. And you see, and that's what things, and these things just carry on and carry on. So sometimes when bad things happen, we need a distraction. Here's what I would ask you, Michelle, is the relationship that you're in right now, is it a distraction to try to help you get over the past? Because if it's just a distraction, it may be something useful for helping as far as coping and moving forward. But it could also be something that, because of where, this nice distraction, it may be something that is actually going to open some new doors for you, some other things. But if you let the distraction go, like I would say, the same would apply if I was on this phone at the bus stop. Well, the bus shows up and it takes me off of the phone, out of this reality, and puts me back into the reality of doing my service and going on and moving about. So now I'm reoriented back into that situation. And then I go in and do my service. And then maybe I get a call on the same phone that was a distraction earlier. I get a call and it's from one of the other monks asking me, to come back, that we have some program that we need to prepare for. I need to do some cooking and this, that, and the other. And that shifts me back to the spiritual again. So do you see kind of like how distractions have a way of, when we're unable to manage or unable to, handle a situation, it can be a nice distraction. So like materialism in that sense can be a nice distraction sometimes, but the key is to remember that it's just a distraction. A movie is not the here and now. It's just a nice distraction so that our mental processes, our mindset, that depression, everything that we're feeling can just be stopped so that we can put our attention and focus somewhere else. Now in Sanskrit, we have a word, it's called dhyanam. It's a very ancient language, Sanskrit. And this dhyanam means attention or focus. So where attention goes, energy flows. And this has sort of become a cliche, sort of in metaphysical circles, law of attraction type circles and that. And we also have another Sanskrit word, chitta, which is like, it means stuff. So we might think of like tangible things like things, which is material objects and that kind of thing. And those things come about through thoughts. So there's another whole dynamic to this whole thing, like where thoughts become things. And we see that like in the New Age movement, a lot of times people say, well, how do you manifest something into your life? Think it, really believe it, really feel it, and then the universe will provide it for you. It'll just happen to come about. And if you put your focus somewhere, that's where you start to see results. It's sort of like if you say, well, I want a new car. I want it to be, let's just say a Honda Accord. And it's like the car that your dreams, and that's really what you want. Now you're putting your focus on your intention. You're telling the universe, God, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, what it is you want. And now you're saying, okay, you know what? This is really what my focus needs to be on. And then the universe is going to present it to me. It's going to come into my reality somehow, in some way. And I trust and I believe that that's going to happen. And we convince ourselves that it's true. And then right away, we're driving, or we're riding the bus or whatever. And what do we happen to see or notice? We see other Hondas, right? Honda Accords in particular. And we're like, wow, that must be a sign. That's a sign that I'm going to get that Honda Accord. And we get excited, and it just really reinforces that belief. When in fact, where attention goes, energy flows. So like when you put your focus is what you're actually paying attention to. What you're not paying attention to is everything else, right? Which you're not focused on, so you're not seeing. So even though you might see the Honda Accords only, you might see the exact same color Honda Accords that you're in particular wanting. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's an omen per se, because there's a lot of other vehicles out there besides just that Honda Accord. And there's a lot of Honda Accords, right? So we have to kind of, be a little rational, like with things, nothing wrong with that distraction. It's a nice distraction because it's sort of reinforcing this hopeful desire that we have, like, yes, I'm going to manifest this. Universe, I'm worthy of this. We give ourselves aphorisms and things like that. And that's what, that's a huge philosophy that a lot of people believe in. Nothing wrong with it. It's just that if we look at it through different lenses, we see different things, like a different perspective on it, like the one I was just explaining with the nice distraction. It could be a very nice distraction, and that might be enough of what we need in order to, get away from something that we don't want to focus on. So it's pretty neat. I remember as a child, my mom, she used to, if I was having a bad day or something was bothering me, she was really, really good at distracting me with something else. Putting my attention and focus on something else, on something that was more appealing or more appetizing to me. In many cases, it was sweets, like Indian sweets. I don't know if you guys have ever had like ladus. It's like my favorite, Krishna K ladus, totally awesome. Mom made a lot of those, fairly nice, especially around like holidays and spiritual events and different things. And so, and they were so yummy. I mean, like even now, even though I'm a monk, doesn't mean that those distractions don't. I can use those distractions though now to help people, to help spread love for God, through these metaphors, through these experiences that I've had. So it's a real blessing to be able to turn that over and to use it as more like an offering to God instead of an offering to myself, saying, I want the ladus, I can tell people about the ladus, get them salivating about them, and then kind of spin it in a direction where it kind of shows or shares love for God or some kind of a spiritual message that might help someone. So it's nice. I feel like I'm rambling here. So just forgive me, but hopefully you guys are able to bear with me, kind of take this all in. But anyway, ladus were a nice distraction from maybe something else going on that, was painful to have to deal with. And so like, I guess what I'm trying to do with this message is try to help you, Michelle, just to kind of understand that the healing process is a lot done through distractions. You get my point? So it's like, sometimes distractions are not a bad thing. If something is really, if you've gone through any kind of real loss, like something very traumatic, and real loss can be, it's different for different people. Something that someone takes for granted and says, well, that was pretty bad, but I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Somebody else might lose a lot of sleep over. So, there is no wrong or right to loss. I mean, it's each individual's individual experience. Some people experience things much more emotionally than a lot of other people. Some people have a lot less affect, and so they're not as emotionally attached to things and that type of thing. And for various reasons and circumstances, that's the case. I mean, now, as far as your situation goes, I would say that you just need to kind of maybe explore these kind of ideas a little bit. If one distraction is not doing it, maybe another distraction is what's in store for you. And as far as like perception goes, and in terms of like what is really important, I think that just getting a little bit of light on that, maybe through supplication or prayer or meditation or, whatever means works for you, whatever resonates with you. I would kind of encourage you maybe in that direction. And then I think some answers are going to really start to fall into place for you. And you have that influence card, that Queen of Pentacles. So I see a lot of that kind of energy surrounding you, and that's a lot of strong energy. And it's energy that can really influence and affect you and get you what you want. So I guess maybe the next step would be is to just kind of take a couple steps back and kind of think about, well, what is it, that you're really feeling? Understand what your emotions are, and then just ask yourself some questions like, is this someone that I really want to be with? Is this someone that, what's really going on with this person? Do I find myself loving this person a little bit more each day? Am I serving this person? Is this somebody that I really want to serve and that I want to share my life with and that I really want to care about? Or is this going to be something more temporary? Or do I feel like it might be more temporary? And then ask yourself those kind of questions. Once you come to some answers, I think the next step after that is just, kind of moving progressively forward in that direction. And you can do that with distractions to kind of stop thinking about the past and maybe more focus on the present, or even what you want the future to look like, and start moving in that direction. And going back to that one card that we talked about, really the lesson in that is that if you go back and even though being out in the cold we're talking about, that was sort of a lesson of saying, well, we can go back and retrace our steps and find out, well, how did we become successful in the first place? How did we fall in love in the first place? How did we meet the person in the first place? And I think if you do that, you'll start to come to some realizations and you realize, wait a minute, light bulb is going off. The key to finding the right person, the key to finding the soulmate or the twin flame is X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z, whatever you want to call it. So there it is. So, maybe just some food for thought on that. But yeah, I'm really picking up some positive energy surrounding the person that you're with now. I'm feeling good about this person and you, but ultimately, because of the power and the things that are associated with you and kind of where you're at with it, I think it would be advisable just to kind of maybe take it a little bit slow, but at the same time, just kind of reevaluate the past, come to terms with it, and then just really be able to start moving forward with some nice distractions. And it's okay sometimes to have a distraction. Guys, that's really all for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning into Indirect Knowledge. As your tarot coach, I'm always here for you. Please reach out to me. I'll have my email in the description below this video for anyone that wants a tarot card reading. Also, if you want to support our mission here, you can help the monks. We do greatly appreciate it. It helps us spread love for God. Whether it's donating a cell phone, we don't really care if it's got tape and scratches on it or not. If it works, if it helps us advance our mission, that's all we really care about, is serving God in the nicest way possible. So if you want to donate something, simple as that would be nice, or whatever. Or if you want to give an actual donation, you can go to helpbydonating.com. Those donations are great. They allow us to, if we need toothpaste or something like that, we can buy toothpaste. If we're purchasing food for a homeless shelter and doing cooking and things on that nature, it allows us to be able to do that. We have our little pantry behind me, as you can see. And we're simple, it's a very simple lifestyle. So we do a lot of cooking and helping, and, it's a modest kind of life, but it does have its rewards. You bet. And, but if you want to give from the heart, please do so. It really does help us. So we thank you in advance, and much love, many blessings, you guys. And I hope to see you guys on the next episode of Indirect Knowledge. As always, much love, many blessings.